You all know about this. I don't need to tell you this. I just had to buy a new refrigerator a few weeks ago, and I was shocked you can still buy refrigerators that aren't Energy Star. I don't know why. As a side note, I'm in the process of getting a $130 rebate for buying this Energy Star refrigerator. The utility is giving out money to people who buy things like this so they don't have to build a new power plant. That's a win-win for everybody. And $30 if you'll have it properly recycled so that Freon doesn't get into the atmosphere, which is a win-win. Your utility, I'm sure, does your power come from Evansville?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yes, from Vectran.
Yeah, they have a new program where they're offering various incentives, and I apologize that I forgot the name. I had it a few hours ago in my head, but I forgot it. But there are opportunities for you to get savings directly and indirectly, cash and energy. Most of you probably have a computer. I'm disappointed to tell you they are shipped with the energy efficiency software turned off. You may think that you bought an Energy Star computer and you're in good shape, but what they didn't tell you is you have to go into the system and set it properly. So when you go to the power system, it either says Energy Star option or it will say laptop option. And then you've got it. I did the computation on these probably, golly, more than 10 years ago. What I calculated was for every regular incandescent exit light that was retrofitted with these little LED strips, we were saving $11 a year in labor and $10 a year in electricity per fixture. The $11 is because they're usually way high up. So you got to get one person with a ladder to hold it while the other person climbs up there to do it, and they got to vacuum out the bugs and all that. And that was my calculation, that it was saving $21 per fixture per year. These things are rated to last a minimum of 35 years because they stay on. It's the on and off that makes these things wear out. Because they stay on, rated to last at least 35 years, which is why we call them heirloom bulbs, facetiously. You know, you're going to be retired before the next person has to figure out, what's going on. This is what I tell people: if you do nothing else as a result of my visit than to turn off the lights on soft drink machines, I will feel like it's worth my effort. These things, by my calculation, cost over $100 per machine per year to advertise, oftentimes to a captive audience in a lit up space. So if you have a soft drink machine here, I'm sure there's going to be a ceiling light. It's not like if you're here and you decide you want a soft drink, you're going to go, well, I don't want Pepsi, I want Coke brands, and you're going to walk 2 blocks down the street. You're not. You're going to drink whatever's there. We don't need to be spending this kind of energy to advertise. Slaying your power vampires means that when you have anything with an instant on function or a LED clock, it's always using power. If you instead plug it into the strip and toggle it on and off, you solve that problem. Now, if you use the clock, that won't work. You should leave it be. But if you're not using the clock, go for it. All right, other end-use efficiencies. Wash with full loads using cold water. Unless it's poopy diapers or somebody's been really sick and upchucked, you don't really need to use grease from the kitchen. If you got grease on your apron or whatever, then you should use hot water. But otherwise, you don't really need it. And the solar clothes dryer. I bet that's not illegal here, right? Some of these subdivisions now in bigger cities, they have a deed restriction. You're not allowed to use a clothesline. That's a little snooty, isn't it? What I notice is when I use Clorox and I run things through the dryer, it still smells like Clorox. But when I put it out in the line, you don't smell it. It's nicer. Okay, this is a really cool new technology. I always tell young people there are jobs here that are important jobs. This is called an infiltrometer or a blower door test. And you put this door, pretend door, in the real doorway that goes to the outside of the house. And you insert this fan, and you can adjust these, put in different size rings. But the point being is you want to be able to power up that fan and suck air through the house at 25 to 50 pascals, which is just a measure of how much negative pressure you put on the house. And it's connected to a microprocessor, and it analyzes how many square feet of holes are there in the building envelope by how hard the fan has to work to suck that hard on the house. Now, I took 12 random sample houses, And I did this probably 4 or 5 years ago when it cost $350 to $500 in Louisville to have this test done. I don't need to tell you that poor people weren't signing up for that. These were people who owned nice houses, who were investing in their houses and wanted them to be very tight. So these houses were in good shape, and I took 12 random samples and threw in my own as well. Anybody want to guess the average of those houses in excess holes in square feet beyond what it needed for the air conditioner and the furnace to work? 3 square feet. They say poor people's houses can easily be 5 and 6 feet. Now, that sounds hard to believe, except that I've too often seen it. But I'm here to say this. If some kid in the neighborhood puts a baseball through that window and it knocks a 3-foot hole in it, you can bet that in short order, at minimum, somebody's going to tape a cardboard box opened up onto it. You're not going to leave that open year-round, but that's what we have in our homes. It's that much loss of our heat. And so, not only can we do this to quantify the problem, but we can walk around with an infrared camera, which measures temperature. So you can see here what it's saying is that at this point, this shade of orange, it's about 86 degrees F. And when it gets to be white, it's 102. And so it shows you, what a surprise, the eyes, the nose, and the mouth of the kitty cat are the hottest. And its face is relatively warm. And as you get further back on its body, it's not so hot. Now here it is in a house. The baseboard here, clearly there's a leak behind the baseboard where the wall comes to the floor. Now if you happen to be sitting in your evening chair and you're reading the newspaper in the winter and that cold air is pouring in at 49 degrees F, you're going to go turn the furnace up. But if you use this test to figure out where the problem is, you could just fix it. And the reason why this is so important is nobody has unlimited money to fix up their houses. We all have to use what money we have to fix up our houses very carefully and shrewdly. This tells you what you can't see with your eyes, where you can best spend your money to get the most return. Uh-huh.
So when people talk about the free home energy audit, do they use this kind of technology?
In Louisville, they do the blower door. They don't do the infrared. I don't know what you all do here. I'll find out tomorrow when I go to be on the WNIN program. But to my way of thinking, and I'm an engineer, so you can just, what my biases are. I would always try to find a way to pay for the infrared photography, because it's one thing to know how bad the problem is, but you really need to know where the problem is to fix it. And sometimes while the blower door is going, you can walk around with your hand and just feel where the drafts are. You can sometimes solve or identify the problems there that way. But this is much more effective because, for example, you can't feel that the insulation settled down to here between these two studs, and it settled down to here between those studs, and it never even got there. So,
is there an iPhone app for that yet?
No. That's a great question. Unfortunately, no. But somebody should do that. Very good. My family's in the window and door business. This is why they hate French doors. You cannot adjust them to work well. All you can do in a situation like this is put a slide bolt up in there, which you'll have to pull it down every time you want to go out. And if you've got kids, the kids can't reach up there. So you either leave it open or you leave it always shut. But anyway, this is a common problem with French doors, that they leak like this. And then this is just a shot to show that this house's attic probably isn't insulated. It could be that it's a metal roof and it absorbed heat over the day. I don't know, but I'm trying to illustrate the ideas. But probably their attic is uninsulated. The upper sash of this window is leaky compared to the bottom sash. The upper sashes of those windows are leaky. These are pretty tight. That one's pretty tight. And then look at this corner. It looks like somebody finished working on Friday afternoon and got this far, came back on Monday, and the drywall people had already hung up the corner, and they'd said, "Oh, to heck with it," and never insulated that corner. So again, if you're sitting there watching TV on a cold winter night, you're going to be stoking the thermostat for the furnace for the whole house because of that one corner. That's probably worth, if you sit there much, opening it up and fixing it. So how do we fix it? Fiberglass, you're well aware of that. which by the way is, they use recyclable glass bottles to feed that operation, which is a nice way to close that loop. You're probably familiar with blowing in cellulose, which is oftentimes recycled newspapers and phone books and things. But we have newer, higher tech stuff that's much better now. The first two are like if this canteen had hot liquid in it and I put a styrofoam sleeve in it, it's just something between me and the heat. But what's cool about this stuff is it not only does that, but it seals off the air, and the air is what's carrying the heat in the cold where we don't want it to go. Generally, it's moving the heat where we don't want it to go. So if we can do this expanding foam, which is environmentally friendly, it's water-based. I have it in my own house. I have allergies, and I slept in my bed right next to this stuff the very first night. It's what they say it is. In fact, part of mine's made from castor bean oil, so I joke if ever I'm constipated, I can just eat part of my insulation. In my house, what I did, the opening to the attic, rather than putting the plywood cover over it, I put in plastics, you know, what do you call it, Lexan. And then I put a remote thermometer, so you can see the remote sitting up there in the attic, and then the main thermometer's down there on my desk. The biggest temperature differential I have found in 3 years now is 9 degrees. That's really, I mean, it would be nothing to find 30 and 40 and 50 degrees temperature differential, and I'm assuming you're finding the same thing here.